Welcome students. We have seen the posterior view of the skull, that is the norma occipitalis, in the previous videos. Today we will deal with the individual bone of the skull, that is the occipital bone. The occipital bone, it is the curved plate of a bone which is present in the posterior part of the cranial vault, that is the skull cap, and the posterior part of the skull base. Because of the presence of the midline presence of the foramen magnum, the bone is divided into four parts. Upper plate-like part is the squamous part of the occipital bone. The part which is projecting forward and upward is the basilar part of the occipital bone, and on either side of the foramen magnum is the condylar part of the occipital bone. So these are the four parts: basilar part, condylar part, and the squamous part of the occipital bone. What is the anatomical position of this occipital bone? If you place this foramen magnum horizontally, the basilar part of the occipital bone should be directed upward and the forward. So this is the anatomical position of the occipital bone. We will see each part one by one. First, we will see in this video, we will see the squamous part of the occipital bone, and in subsequent videos, we will see the basilar and the condylar part of the occipital bone along with the structures passing through the foramen magnum. So first, we will see about the squamous part. Squamous part, it is the curved plate-like part of a bone having external surface, internal surface, two superolateral border, these are also called as the lambdoidal border, the two inferolateral border. The angles present are the superior angle, and these two are the lateral angles to the occipital bone. So squamous part, it is a curved plate-like part, somewhat trapezoid in the outline. This part is somewhat trapezoid in outline. The external surface, it is convex one, whereas the internal surface, it is having concavity. We will see the external surface first. In the median plane, in between the superior angle and the foramen magnum, is the presence of one projection called as external occipital protuberance. From the external occipital protuberance to curved bony margins, they are running laterally. These are nothing but the superior nuchal line. So external occipital protuberance and the superior nuchal line, it marks the junction of the scalp and the neck. And this bone is also divided because of this into planum occipitale, the upper part, and planum nuchale, the lower part. 1 centimeter above to the superior nuchal line is the presence of the highest nuchal line. Again, these are the curved bony margins running laterally. This is the highest nuchal line. From the external occipital protuberance, the prominent point is called as inion, I-N-I-O-N. It is called as the inion, above to which is the presence of the occipital point. From the external occipital protuberance, one ridge is running downward up to the posterior margin of the foramen magnum. This is called as external occipital crest. So this line is the external occipital crest, from the middle of which again two bony curves margins, they are running laterally. These are called as the inferior nuchal line. So these are the arrangements present on the external surface of the occipital bone. Now we will see its attachments. On the upper part of the external occipital protuberance, along with the medial 1/3 part of the superior nuchal line, it gives origin to the trapezius muscle. The lower part of the external occipital protuberance, along with the external occipital crest, gives attachment to the ligamentum nuchae. Ligamentum nuchae, it is a triangular fibrous sheet which is extending at the spinous processes of all cervical vertebrae up to the external occipital protuberance, and it represents the upward continuation of the supraspinous ligament. The lateral 2/3 part of the superior nuchal line gives insertion to the sternocleidomastoid and the splenius capitis muscle. Highest nuchal line, if it is present, it is not present in all individual. If it is present, it gives attachment to medial 2/3 part, gives attachment to the aponeurotic fascia called as gallia aponeurosis or epicranial aponeurosis, and in the lateral 1/3 part, it gives origin to the occipital belly of occipitofrontalis muscle. If it is absent, all the attachments, they are going to be attached to the superior nuchal line. Whole of the superior nuchal line along with the external occipital protuberance gives attachment to the deep cervical fascia. The part in between, or the area in between the superior and the inferior nuchal line, this is the inferior nuchal line, gives insertion to splenius capitis medially and superior obliquus muscle laterally. So these 2 are the insertion. The area below inferior nuchal line and the posterior margin of the foramen magnum gives insertion to rectus capitis posterior minor medially and rectus capitis posterior major laterally. So these are the attachments present on it. The posterior margin of the foramen magnum gives attachment to the posterior atlanto-occipital membrane. So this is about the external surface. On the internal surface, again in the midline, we are having one protuberance. This is called as internal occipital protuberance. So from here, the 4 lines, they are radiating from the internal occipital protuberance. The upper line, which is present in the sagittal plane, this is the superior sagittal sulcus or superior sagittal line, which gives attachment to one of the dural fold, that is called as falx cerebri, which separates the 2 lobes of the cerebral hemisphere. The 2 transverse line running laterally from the internal occipital protuberance, this is called as the transverse sulcus or transverse line, giving attachment to again the second fold of the dura mater, that is called as tentorium cerebellae, which separates the cerebrum from the cerebellum, and it lodges the transverse sinus. So the superior sagittal sinus is present here in the superior sagittal sulcus. The superior sagittal sinus is getting continuous with the right transverse sinus, whereas the inferior sagittal sinus getting continuous with the left transverse sinus, which in turn continues with the sigmoid sinus. This is the internal occipital crest, which is running downward sagittally. At the lower part, there is the presence of the triangular depression, which is called as the Vermian fossa, which lodges the inferior vermis of the cerebellum. And this gives attachment to the falx cerebelli, which separates the 2 lobes of the cerebellum, and it lodges the occipital sinus. So 4 dural venous sinuses are present or lodges in this sulcuses. These are the superior sagittal sinus, right transverse sinus, left transverse sinus, and the occipital sinus. So this internal occipital protuberance is the meeting point of all the sinuses, which is called as the confluence of the dural venous sinus. Because of this cruciate arrangement of the sulci, there are the presence of 4 fossae. Upper 2 are the triangular one, which accommodates the occipital lobe of the cerebrum. The lower 2 are the quadrilateral fossae, which lodges the cerebellum, and this is the Vermian fossa. Vermian fossa. Now we will see about the borders and the angles. These 2 are the superolateral border, which are serrate in nature, articulates with the posterior part of the parietal bone, forming a lambdoidal suture. So these borders, they are also called as the lambdoidal borders. The 2 inferolateral border, they articulates with the mastoid part of the temporal bone at the occipito-mastoid suture. So these are also called as the mastoid border. The superior angle is nothing but a lambda, which is the meeting point of the sagittal suture and the lambdoidal suture. In the fetal skull, this is the site for the presence of the posterior fontanelle, which get closes at the age of 2 to 3 months. The 2 lateral angles, these are the 2 lateral angles. This is nothing but the asterion, which is the meeting point of the lambdoidal suture, occipito-mastoid suture, and the parieto-mastoid suture. So asterion in the fetal skull is the site of posterolateral fontanelle, which again get closes by the age of 2 to 3 months of the age. So these are the angles and the borders present on the occipital bone. So this we have discussed the squamous part of the occipital bone. In the second video, in my second video, you are going to see about the basilar part and the condylar part of the occipital bone in detail. Thank you.